Josh, thank you so much for joining us. I cannot count the number of times that your name was brought up in my Twitch chat from like a year ago where people were like, get this guy on, especially when Kyle had just gotten out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, I'll say, a touch more experience with federal prison than Kyle. And by that, I mean about 30 times as much. So can you break down like what landed you there and the surrounding situation? Because it's a fascinating it's fascinating.
Yeah, it definitely is fascinating. That's one of the many colorful adjectives we can use for it. Glad to be here, guys. I know that it did take a while, and I appreciate everybody that shouted out repeatedly trying to get me on. Yes, I did. I did go to prison for a little bit longer than Kyle, although we were both at Talladega, just separated by a few razor wires.
Yeah.
Long story short, let me see how I've explained this in the past. I've given the rundown a few times. In 2012, I was playing an online video game known as RUNESCAPE. It was one of my favorite games from age 2004 until I just logged off of it an hour ago. And I was very, very drunk playing with a friend of mine named Anthony that was trying to download me to convince me to download a game making light of a school shooting that happened in 1999.
How old are you?
I was 19 years old at the time, I meant to say. So I was about to say that I was drunk. It wasn't legal already in and of itself because I was 19.
So you began the night by committing a crime.
I was already doing it big. I was
victimless crime.
Yeah, the victimless crime, not to the FBI. I did not think that the video game was very funny. I did Google it. I looked it up. I did not download it. The FBI said I downloaded it. We later had to actually make a point in court to get them to take it off the record that I downloaded it because I did not, even though the judge shrugged and said he didn't know what download meant anyway. He said, you can win on that point. I don't know what download means.
That's a horrible thing to run into in the middle of an internet crime. I don't understand the downloads.
It means I had no possession of this game. It means I looked through the window of a store at it and walked away.
Exactly.
Well
That's
phrased.
the digital equivalent. That's very, very well phrased. I wish I would have thought to say that instead of saying,
I'm going to jail.
Yeah, if I would have been, in a little bit of a better mindset, maybe I could have explained it better. But anyways, me being drunk and in those days, admittedly being a little bit more hairy on the neck, if you will, I decided that a third party busted in and told me I was a dumbass for discussing this particular massacre at all, for even mentioning the name of it, and encouraged me to call him on the phone and end my life with him on the phone. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's a crime, but I don't think this guy got in trouble because my drunk ass decided, I said, I love that particular school shooting. Man, I'm obsessed with it. I'm going to do it myself. Ha, 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 ha. Motherfucker, I'm just kidding. Or I said I'm being sarcastic, and I had the long transcript. I just recently moved to New Orleans, and my paperwork's all put up. But I had the long transcript where I actually said it's called sarcasm. Nonetheless, 4 days later, I also said some things that school can be gravel if I have anything to say about it. That word gravel becoming very important when it went before the grand jury because that constitutes – exactly. It constitutes a bomb threat, which gave me a new charge separate from the other one. 4 days later – the bomb squad, the FBI, the SWAT team, and the boys all showed up at my house, the helicopter in the sky, the bomb-sniffing dogs that I didn't know existed on October 8th of 2012, that was, and came and got me out of my mom's house with a whole lot of empty bottles of alcohol because I was not doing too great in life. And due to the fact that I was a bit of a slacker who preferred a bit of the drink and the smoke to working a good job, a big, big example was made out of me, and I ended up ultimately being sentenced to 6 years in federal prison, most of which I served at medium-high securities, excluding a violation of probation that sent me back.
That is wild. And I'm assuming like the long or the length of your sentence, you say that was tied to gravel, like the bomb aspect of it?
Right. It was poignant that I received 6 years because 5 years was the maximum statutory sentence for one of the two charges. The charges that I was faced with were transmitting threats in interstate and foreign commerce, transmitting threats to kill and injure the person of another, which has a statutory maximum of 5 years. Now, the day before jury deliberation, when I had my lawyer came to me and said, you're either going to plead out today or you're going to take to this court and get 15 years. It's your last chance. You better plead out. I pled out to the more serious charge of transmitting threats to destroy buildings by means of fire and explosives, which I could not have even gotten 6 years for if that was the one that I would have pled out to.
As it was occurring and everything's unfolding, was there a certain point were you like afraid of going to prison the whole time, or in the beginning were you like, this is bullshit, it's obviously a joke? Was there a moment where you're like, oh no, this is real?
Yeah, the moment where I started realizing that I might be in over my head, even though I'd already been to court multiple times at this point, was 2 months later, a little over 2 months later, when the Newtown Sandy Hook massacre happened. And that was all over TV. And that was when I was like, that is very sad to begin with, but also unfortunate timing for me.
And so you fired up RuneScape. And you got ready for a little trolling.
Yeah, I was already in jail when the Sandy Hook happened. I was sitting in a jail cell with a bunch of other dudes just watching on TV as this unfolded, like, oh, they are really going to want a scapegoat for this. And a lot of people have referred to me as the RuneScape goat, of course, for taking the hit while playing RuneScape.